So you're a cost accountant, right? You know the numbers inside and out. But stepping up into the role of a modern CFO, man, that requires a completely different playbook. Welcome to this explainer, where we're unpacking a seriously transformative source. We're going to take Manish Acharya's intense, meticulously constructed strategies and turn them into your definitive roadmap. Okay, let's just dive right into this.
Here's our game plan today. We're covering 5 key sections. First, confronting the reckoning. Then, the trauma to triumph mindset. Third is the CFO shadow method, followed by mastering the month-end close, and we'll wrap it all up with the Finance Commander Manifesto. Right out of the gate in the preface, the author establishes this really high-stakes, uncompromising tone. Quote, "This book is not for the faint-hearted. It is a bridge between the trauma of your past and the triumph of your future. This book is your arsenal." End quote. So, yeah, this material, it's not just passive reading. It's a rigorous training ground for ambitious professionals, literally designed as your arsenal to bridge that gap between deep cost accounting expertise and the tough operational reality of being a CFO. Section 1, Confronting the Reckoning. Because, well, before we can fix the numbers, we really have to fix the mindset. The source introduces this absolutely powerful concept called the reckoning exercise. Just picture 2 sheets of paper. Over on the left, you've got your operational gaps, the weeds you've maybe never touched, like actually closing the books or filing GST. But then, on the right side, you've got your strategic strengths, stuff like spearheading cost reduction initiatives or driving complex product pricing decisions. And when you look at them side by side, this huge realization hits you. You aren't actually behind. Because you've been focusing on high-level strategy instead of just the operational weeds, you are, in a weird way, unconventionally ahead. That brings us to Section 2, the trauma to triumph mindset. To reframe all that career anxiety, the author introduces the confidence architecture framework. The idea is you take a gap trauma statement, say something like, "I've never managed treasury, so I lack financial control," and you actively reframe it into a triumph. You'd say, "Well, I've optimized working capital through inventory management, so I actually deeply understand cash conservation." It's brilliant. You're taking an operational insecurity and forging it into a narrative triumph for your next interview. You're literally changing the story you tell yourself and, eventually, a hiring panel. Now, to really make this stick, the source lays out a 30-day journaling protocol. Every single day, you do 5 things. Identify a fear, map it to your existing costing knowledge, record 1 new learning, write down your triumph reframe, and finally, draft a potential interview question based on it. You are systematically replacing fear with a documented, rehearsable competence. By the end of those 30 days, you've built yourself an entire mental arsenal. Moving right along, Section 3, the CFO shadow method. So the whole point here is making that jump from pure execution to high-level strategic thinking. Think of the CFO shadow as your daily mental workout. You read just 1 business article a day, like, say, Reliance Industries acquiring a retail chain, and you step directly into the CFO's shoes. You got to ask yourself, what's the synergy potential here? How does this impact our debt-to-equity ratio? What's a realistic integration timeline? By doing this, you're actively building the exact strategic vocabulary that boards are desperately looking for. Section 4, Mastering the Month-End Close. This is where we shift from mindset into pure operational execution. Look, the month-end close is the absolute heartbeat of the finance function. And the author stresses that pulling off a fast close, we're talking 3 to 5 days, is a massive competitive advantage, but it absolutely must be built on 5 solid pillars. First, you need total cutoff discipline, recognizing revenue exactly when it's earned. Second is accrual integrity, which means absolutely no hiding or parking inconvenient expenses. Third, you've got to handle intercompany eliminations. Fourth, calculate accurate provisioning for things like bad debts or warranties. And finally, you have to execute rigorous analytical reviews before that final sign-off. This is exactly how you build board-level trust. But how do you actually make that aggressive 3 to 5 day close a reality? Well, you need an airtight system. The timeline effectively starts on day -7 with a pre-close checklist. This forces all departments to get those pending invoices in early. Then it marches systematically through revenue and bank recon on day 1, accruals and provisions on day 2, intercompany eliminations on day 3, an analytical review on day 4, all the way to that final management sign-off on day 5. It is the ultimate blueprint for operational efficiency. Now here's a real pro tip from the playbook. Implement a flash P&L, just a quick, early snapshot of profits and losses on day 3. Why? Because it proves to management that you aren't just in some back room crunching numbers. It shows you completely understand the CEO's urgent need for early operational visibility. It proves you're already operating as a true business partner. Okay, so imagine you're sitting in the interview for a big CFO role, and the panel hits you with that inevitable question. Walk us through your month-end close process. How on earth do you handle this when your background is strictly in cost accounting and you've never actually led a corporate financial close? Well, you leverage the author's script. You look them in the eye and say, while my primary expertise has been cost accounting, I've been deeply involved in the operational side of the close, specifically inventory and COGS validation. See what you did there? You don't apologize for your background, you weaponize it. You pivot smoothly from your existing strengths directly into that 5-day process-driven methodology we just talked about. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the Finance Commander Manifesto, the culmination of this whole journey. Now, it's really important to remember that this blueprint, it isn't just academic theory. The author, Manish Acharya, built these frameworks, leveraging over 26 years of strategy and finance experience in the real-world corporate battlefield. These methodologies have been forged in actual boardrooms and high-stakes financial transitions. And honestly, what we've covered today is just the tip of the spear. As the source material outlines, this month-end close simulation is just one module in a massive, comprehensive syllabus. To truly command the room, a modern CFO has to master complex dynamics like Treasury, GST and tax compliance, and IPO readiness. And this playbook uses that exact same intense simulation-based approach to conquer all of those areas. The core takeaway here is that you cannot just passively read this material. Quote, you will not just read about these topics, you will live them. You have endured the worst, now it is time to claim the best. End quote. You have to actively simulate this stuff. Journal, practice the reframes, run the mock closes, so you can walk into any room with the hard-earned confidence of someone who has turned adversity into a massive strategic advantage.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Take a hard look at your career right now. Are you going to remain safely in the shadows of cost accounting, letting operational gaps define you? Or are you ready to deploy this arsenal, undergo this simulation training, and become the finance commander your company desperately needs? The blueprint is right here. So what's your next move?